Do you have an idea for a podcast that would be perfect on the Podpire Network? Head over to thepodpirenetwork.com/pitchapod today. That is thepodpirenetwork.com/pitch-a-pod. You could be our next great podcast host. The following podcast is a production of the Podpire Network. Find and listen to our podcasts at thepodpirenetwork.com or wherever you enjoy your podcast. The Podpire Network, a family of inspired podcasts. All right. Welcome, one and all. Happy New Year, wherever you are.
Happy New Year.
Wherever it is that you're listening from. Thank you for joining us
Probably
in 2022.
On Earth, to be fair.
I mean, you can't. I mean, I bet we have some listeners in the International Space Station. Exactly. So
yeah, we might have some listeners out there.
Don't limit our range, Sibel. Come on.
If this is someone in the future who's listening to us and you're off the planet Earth, thank you for listening in.
Thank you for finding these retro tapes and pressing play. Yes. No, we are just very thrilled. It's 2022, people. Happy New Year. I hope that you had a kind crossover and that the year has started well for you. Of course, that's not the case for a lot of people across the world. So we are thankful that we're able to be in relatively good situations compared to, you know, how bad it could be. And we are thrilled to be here with you on the very first episode of 2022 here on Hairbrain Schemes, the podcast where we talk about... Yes, indeed. The podcast where we talk about ill-conceived ventures that are very often hilarious and the people behind them, right? Sibel, how are you this year? What is cracking?
I'm good. As you know, I'm getting over a bout of COVID. But Luckily, I got my booster.
Do we get
just in time?
You said that with way too much, fun in your voice. It's like, ooh.
No, it's not fun. It's honestly
it's not fun.
Gratefulness. It's I've actually lost quite a few loved ones to COVID. But thanks to the vaccine, and I got my booster literally just in the nick of time. I had a relatively mild case. And I'm just so grateful for science and access and thousands and thousands of people who worked on these vaccines that probably saved my life, you know? And if you've ever listened to the other podcast that Bibi did of me, you'd know that I'm pretty high risk. I'm missing part of my lung and all that. Right. So, it's... I feel very, very grateful to be okay. Really.
Yeah, man. I'm super happy that you are getting over it. And that you got that booster shot just in the nick of time too. We're just hoping that things start to turn a positive corner here. Which is a lot of people I know are just tired of this entire situation. And of course, everyone has their freedom of whatever. Yeah, sure. But I kind of really struggle to feel sorry for anyone who has access to knowledge and the vaccines, but refuses to get vaccinated. I don't get it, is what I should say. Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of very smart people smarter than myself, who will have, very intelligent sounding arguments about why they refuse to get vaccinated, but there it is. But it's not a show about the vaccinations. This is a show about harebrained schemes. And you had a harebrained scheme of your own one time.
Oh,
You were trying to get your.
It wasn't a harebrained scheme.
No. This is what happened. Let's be honest. You listened to one too many Jason Derulo songs, and you were like, "That's how." You're like,
okay. That's how I remember the connection. That's where the connection came from.
You were like, "That's how it's done."
Jason Derulo.
Yeah, you're like, this dude has the whole world saying his name, right? How do I, in my community, in my network, get people to say my name, right? And so, you want to tell the class what you got up to?
Yeah, so I was a TA and sort of a primary instructor.
Right.
For freshman engineering students at my university, the George Washington University.
George Washington University.
Yeah, baby. So my full name, and I'm quite proud of my full name, is Sibel Ahmed Shahzad Mufti. And I had, I think, a total of about 60 students, freshmen.
Right.
And at the end
of all that power, you just went absolutely berserk.
I think you have a good idea of what kind of, instructor I'd be. Also, the cool thing about that course and at our university is that course is actually it's not so much about being academically rigorous. It's about mentorship and kind of inspiring the students about how their knowledge can be applied. And because engineering is obviously a rather challenging course of study and can be very dry. And for many students, they'll never see like an actual something they're building and coming to fruition until maybe the end of their like third semester, so a year and a half in. So this is meant to get around that, and so it's very much about mentorship. And so they really were very much about students who had actually graduated as undergrads and then were grad students there. So they would kind of handpick out of that small batch. We were quite lucky that way. And so I did abuse that, which is I said, okay,
you promptly abused that.
Yeah, I said to pass my class, at the end of the course, you have to pronounce my name perfectly. Right. And this culminated the whole name. So this culminated in two things. One, some student who never fessed up put up a question on Yahoo Answers saying, how do I pronounce Sibel Ahmed Shahzad Mufti? It is a matter of life and death. No one ever answered who that was. And then finally, during the last class, when they're giving all their presentations, there's 40 students in the class. So they give their presentation, like the first group gives their presentation, 4 kids out of these guys. And I say, that was really well done. Good job. And I say, so what's my name?
Oh, Lord.
And instead of just those 4 going Sibel Ahmed Shahzad Mufti, the entire class, 40 people surrounding me go, Sibel Ahmed Shahzad Mufti. And I was like, this is what it feels like to be a god. And this happened 10 times throughout the day. Once the dean of the engineering school was walking by the class, and he looks at me, and I knew him. He was a lovely man, and he gave he kind of he gives me this expression. I'm just like laughing. He's like, what?
It's like, did you start your own cult in the school where people were chanting your name?
Yeah.
Right. You were promptly power drunk, of course. They should never have given you that power.
And what I said to them is, I said, look, 30 years from now, you might forget every single thing I ever teach or that you have learned in engineering. Right. Every single thing. But you're going to have a kid.
Know my name. Right.
You have a kid. And your kid's going to be like, we had this really interesting TA this semester. And all of a sudden, you're going to be like, I had this one TA. And he made us remember his whole name and pronounce it perfectly. And I still remember his name. And you will say my name. At least one of you will. And I'm like, that is my goal. This is what I want. I want to be remembered as the strange TA. Oh man.
Right. No.
So yes, this is my story.
You promptly abused your power. Not unlike a lot of us would. So congratulations on the successful outcome of your harebrained scheme to get your name immortalized there, my friend.
Thank you so much. It was honestly it was so much fun teaching that course. It was a lot of fun. They were great.
Teaching,
they were
starting a cult.
Students.
Yep.
Starting a cult. Yeah. I don't know, man. I sometimes wonder if I would be good at starting a cult. I'm good at making friends.
I mean,
I wonder
you have you have a certain David Koresh-esque quality going.
Who's David Koresh?
David Koresh? You don't know who David Koresh is?
No.
You go Google that after the podcast recording.
All right.
Have you ever heard of Waco?
Waco, Texas.
Oh man.
I think so.
Have you ever played Far Cry 5?
No.
Oof. Go Google David Koresh. All right. That's all I'm gonna say. You thank me later. All right.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. Good.
Yeah.
We'll take Podpire Network to the Podpire Empire.
Yeah. So anyway, today we are talking about a certain William Paterson.
William Paterson.
Yes, and the Darien scheme. And Sibel, this one we have to approach with a lot of respect. We have to approach it respectfully because it is, you know what? It's going to take a lot of perspective to be able to view this one as a comedy. But, a bunch of people died. So just so you know, right off the top, let's make sure you understand that from the beginning. A bunch of people die tragically. And it's not a ha story. But the scheme behind the story is it's more comedic. So let's get into that. And we will start by talking about a certain Sir William Paterson, right? Who was a Scottish trader and banker. So let's go on a quick break, and then we will start that conversation with William, and then eventually tell you all the things that went wrong with the infamous Darien scheme. Don't go nowhere.
Darien scheme.
That's right. We'll be back. All right, and we are back. And Sibel, just before we get into things, I think it's important to mention here that this is not by any means meant to replace proper research and rigorous academic curiosity into
we're not experts.
History of Scotland, right? Or anything like that. So just putting that out there very quickly. Please don't come at us. And in fact, one of the sources that you might want to check out, I definitely found this very interesting to sort of, encounter while I was doing research for this episode, would be the Scottish History Podcast. Okay. It has an episode titled The Darien Scheme, Scotland's Doomed Colony. So if you want a more, deeply researched podcast episode to listen to that is based on this subject, you might want to check that out. We will put the link to that in the footnotes to the episode. So that being said, let us get into it. And Sibel, I think we agreed to start with the story of William Paterson. Yep.
Aye, yes, we did. See, the thing is that William Paterson was a very interesting fella. So he grew up in Scotland. Yeah, so Patterson grew up in Scotland until the age of 17.
17.
He was born in his parents' farmhouse at Tynwald in